What's up, you guys? I'm back with another video. My name's Grady, and I listen to country music on this channel and whatever else I want to listen to. And today, I'm coming at you with an album roundup for all of the albums I listened to in July. And that includes some big ones. It wasn't as busy of a month as like June and May and April, where there was just tons of new country music coming out, but it was a pretty good month. And so I'm excited to go through these albums. As always, I will go from my favorite to my least favorite of the month. And we got some cool stuff in store, so stay tuned, give this video a like. These videos never do as well as the, simple little reactions, which is a bummer because they're a lot more work. And let me know what you guys think of these albums down in the comments below. Let's get started. Alright, so you can probably guess what my number one album of July 2018 was. It's Lori McKenna's The Tree. I posted a whole video on this because I was so astounded by it when I first heard it, and I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. And this album is just such a stunning songwriting showcase. Lori is an incredible writer, and she really weaves together all these mundane details about family and home life into something quite profound and quite beautiful in The Tree. It's an album that meditates on themes of family and motherhood and time. And it's really, really an excellent record. Dave Cobb did a great job producing this. His style isn't for everyone. I don't think it works for every singer, but for really a lyrics album like this, I think he does a beautiful job of getting the instruments out of the way, almost so you're not even thinking about them and really letting them serve the lyrics. So definitely my favorite of the month, and I hope you guys have checked it out. It's very well, could be my album of the year. My number 2 album of the month is Cody Jinks' Lifers. Now, Cody Jinks is someone that I have only gotten into in really the last year because I kept seeing The Rock listening to him, and I'd heard a lot about him from the Texas scene, and I'm super glad I got into him. The Adobe Sessions I listened all the way through, and I'm Not the Devil, which is such a good album I listened to as well. And Lifers, I don't think reaches quite the heights of I'm Not the Devil, but it is still a really, really strong album. So I think Cody has this kind of tortured musician thing going on that's really appealing to listen to. That's like my favorite kind of music, is musicians wondering if they're crazy. And on the last track on this album, which is really my favorite track on the whole record, Head Case, Cody lays that out very clearly. He doesn't know if he is a head case or if he's sane. It's not very clear to him. This record deals with a lot of kind of internal demons, even from the jump. Like Holy Water is a song where he's saying, like, I need this kind of sanctification of holy water because I got things going on inside me. And then he gets into that a little bit on Must Be the Whiskey, where, he's kind of confessing this drunken, foolish decision making. And I wish, actually, this record, if it does have a flaw, it's that it's a little inconsistent to me, in that sometimes he seems really crazy, like on a song like Seventh Floor, which is a really interesting song where he just seems kind of crazed or maybe suicidal or like stalker-ish, and songs like Must Be the Whiskey and Head Case. But then other times he's just kind of telling a basic story, like on Big Last Name or Desert Wind. I feel like it does take away from the album, and I actually think the confessional elements on this record are better than the storytelling elements. My other quibble with this record is that it's a little bit too cleanly produced. I really wish Cody Jinks could rough up his sound a little, and most Texas musicians, honestly. I wish they would rough up their sound a little. It's almost like they have this inferiority complex to Nashville records, which are really cleanly produced, so they're trying to make their records cleaner. But conversely, they don't do it as well, and it just makes them a little more bland and boring. So I do think that a little bit about the production on this record, but the songs here are really, really good. I think it starts strong and ends strong. The middle is the sort of more boring part to me, and that includes the title track. Colorado, which we're listening to right now, I think is a really lovely song. It's kind of the smash to me. It sounds just like Carolina in my mind, and it's just a really beautiful, memorable melody. Head Case, as I said, is my favorite song. Stranger is a song about Cody wondering if he even recognizes the stranger looking back at him in the mirror, and how he's just changing as he gets older. Somewhere Between I Love You and I'm Leaving is a really good song. I would think that might be the next single, just because it's a good hook, and it's an excellently produced song. So this record, Cody's voice is so good. The writing is interesting. It sounds good, despite my little quibble with the overly clean production. You're getting tons of steel. You're getting tons of guitar. You're not getting hand claps. It's just a really classy, excellent record from one of the, best troubadours coming out of the Texas scene that's really, shown that he can build his own audience and create his own momentum. So, Lifers I liked quite a bit. I would give it an 8 out of 10. The next record on my list is Kenny Chesney's Song for the Saints. Now, this record very well might pass Cody Jinks by the end of the year. Just on first listen, I thought it was quite subdued, but it's really grown on me with every single listen. I think this is a great record. Kenny Chesney, long ago I sort of wrote off as someone that was just, he found his little lane to sell his rum and his blue chair, beach equipment or whatever he sells. And now he was just going to make, Jimmy Buffett light tunes for the country crowd. And I was sort of cynical about that, but I gotta say, at some point, this became his canon, and it's kind of cool what Kenny's built. He has sort of his own strange lane of island country that he's really created now. And I will say, on Songs for the Saints, I finally believe him. It doesn't feel like a marketing gimmick. It's like, oh, you live down in the islands, and you love the islands. This record he made as a tribute project for victims of Hurricane Irma and just all the damage it did down in the islands down there. Songs for the Saints is actually a play on the idea of St. Thomas, St. Lucia, all the islands down there in the Caribbean that were wrecked, and these are songs for those islands, and the money from this record is going to them. And you really hear his heart for that place and that setting, and it's captured so beautifully and calmly on this record. Songs for the Saints, the opening track, is a really gorgeous song about what does he say? We're a band of sinners singing songs for the saints, something like that. He really has a care for the people there, and maybe the fact that they drink slightly too much, but there's a world weariness to how he approaches that that just feels really kind-hearted. I really enjoy the song Every Heart. He says every heart is an island, but no one's alone, which seems like it might be a reference to Thomas Merton, he's a theologian, that once said no man is an island. But again, the lyricism on this record is smart. Every heart is an island, and here we are making, a record about islands. Get Along is sort of an outlier here. It was obviously the big radio single because they had to launch this with something, and it vaguely has a concept of getting along. Pirate Song's a nice song. My least favorite one is Love for Love, which is the collaboration with Ziggy Marley, but I get it because it's supposed to be sort of a throw to the reggae sound. There's a few tracks on this record, though, that are stunners. One we're listening to right now, Gulf Moon, that has some of my favorite lyrics of any song of this entire year. John Bauman wrote this. It's a solo write. Solo writes always, to me, just are so obvious to pick out because of the specificity and the details. And Kenny did a really great job recording this. And it's a lovely track about, the things that happen under the Gulf Moon, in that kind of ocean area. And Island Rain is quite pretty as well. There's even a Jimmy Buffett duet on here called Trying to Reason with Hurricane Season. That's a really sweet song, and the song kind of about trying to make sense of a world that is prone to disaster and trying to cope with life by drinking. It's still Kenny Chesney and Jimmy Buffett. There's a song called Better Boat on here that finishes the record that's actually going to be Kenny's second single, and that rules. This is a track written by Travis Meadows and Liz Rose, two of the best writers in the business, and it's about trying to get better day by day. It's got that Travis Meadows feeling of self-improvement, of taking life one day at a time in a way that kind of only someone that's been through the sobriety process after being kind of at the extremes that Travis Meadows was at might really be able to evoke in his writing. Kenny chose great songs here that show a deep love for the Caribbean, and that really, instead of kind of the overly popified pastiche of nonsense that is on so many mainstream country records, really shows a direction and a clarity and a desire to have a consistent, rooted, acoustic sound. This album feels like something that stokes camaraderie, and I could see people singing along with. not really just like dancing to and being in their own vibe. It feels communal and open. I think the production on it's very nice, and I really like this record. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. 7.5 beards out of 10, I should say. I haven't hawked my beard oil enough, or my little company, Stash Grooming Co. You should check it out. It supports the channel a lot if you buy some of that. Sorry, had to fit that in. The next record I'm talking about is Chris Lane's Laps Around the Sun. I was ready to dislike this record a lot more than I did, because I didn't dislike it. And I came in thinking like, oh, Chris Lane, I hate the song Fix, and I Broken Windshield View, and I've always thought he was like douchey, and I was like, of course he's releasing Laps Around the Sun. It's an acronym for LATS. And I was just imagining him like talking to his buddy Chad in the gym, being like, dude, LATS, today, we're doing them. But that was cynical of me. As you might notice watching this channel, I have a lot of cynical thoughts going into a lot of albums, and then if you really try to listen with an open mind, a lot of them aren't so bad. Now, on this record, I'm not going to say Chris Lane is never douchey. He's definitely like a player. But he does it a lot better and more convincingly than a lot of other records I've heard. He actually says he was inspired in the making of this record to kind of evoke the good times that a Kenny Chesney concert brings people, and I get that. There's a lot of really, really fun songs on here. Take Back Home Girl is one of my least favorite tracks on this record. I hate that song. It just feels skeezy to me, and too much of that kind of like smooth urban player, that kind of trap beat and R&B cadence and the overly glossy production. It's actually a misnomer on this record, it's misleading on this record, I should say. The two tracks that follow it are excellent, and I hope both of them are considered to be singles. The one we're listening to now is called Drunk People, and I think it's got really good lyrics where it talks about someone hungover, like nursing a Pedialyte, and the regret that comes from a hookup that you didn't want to make. And he says drunk people do dumb things. And you get the girl's perspective, you get the guy's perspective, and in both cases, they kind of wish they hadn't hooked up the night before. It's an interesting song, and a funny song, in a way. Fishin' is the song that comes before, and that's another song that I think is just a fun, summery, flirty... You know, a fishing metaphor is not that complicated in these songs, but I think it's done quite well, and it sounds nice. A lot of these tracks sound really, really good. Laps Around the Sun is super fun. New Phone, Who's This? It's actually a pretty funny song. I thought it would be douchey, and it's not really. And All the Right Problems is another standout to me. The record goes on for way too long. I do not think there needed to be 14 tracks on here. There's a duet with Danielle Bradbury that is kind of nothing to me. There's another song, I don't know, there's a bunch of songs, Sun Kiss You, and I Don't Know About You, I Despise. I think that track is, it's like, what does the chorus say? What's your name? What's your sign? What's your birthday? Which, it feels so... That's like the clubby, douchey side of Chris Lane that I really don't like. And it's just the sort of shallow side of country music that I don't like. But I think there's actually less of that than I expected on this record. And weirdly, though, the record ends with a song called Hero. And even though I'm like Substance guy, this song is just really weirdly out of place to me. It's that same trend of putting a really serious song at the end of your album, and that everyone does in Nashville, every mainstream release. And I don't know, it might be nice enough on its own, but on this whole record it's a very flirtatious, at times trying to be sexy record. And so just to hear him like singing like Jesus is a hero, it's kind of eye rolling to me. It feels pandering. But on the whole, guys, as pop country records go, this is definitely like leagues better than Keith Urban's last record. This at least has some semblance of ties to country music, some witty lyricism, and some really good hooks. It is too long, and there's some moments like the song that's on right now, I Don't Know About You, that I can't stand. But on the whole, I'm going to give Laps Around the Sun 6 out of 10 beards. I think it's better than it is bad. It would technically be like a 5.8, but I haven't gotten into that. Should I get into that? This is going to be my first ever like going off from the half points. I'm actually going to give this a 5.8 out of 10. That's my official review. This is exciting. And the last record I'm covering this week, and my least favorite of the month, is actually Mason Ramsey's record. Yodel Boy is Mason Ramsey, if you're not familiar. And I don't want to talk too long about this because I know he's a kid and everyone got really mad at me last time. Not that I care that much about that, but this is his EP, and it has some Hank Williams covers on there. We've got Lovesick Blues, and we've got Jambalaya, and then we've got a few other original songs that are just like bro country throwaways that have been sitting on the shelf for a while. You know, Famous is at least nice enough, and I alluded to in my reaction to that song how weird it was to hear an 11-year-old singing about, like, girl, how's your family? And the other originals on this record are even weirder. There's like a song called Yo Da Lady Who, which I guess is like a yodeling pun, but You Da Lady Who, as he just said, puts the boom, boom, boom in my body. And it just feels like very sexualizing of a kid, some of these lyrics, and very, very strange and I think pretty uncomfortable to listen to. To me, I was cringing a lot on this record because I felt like that Mason was just kind of getting put through a machine. He's signed to Big Loud Records, and on the one hand, yay, they're capitalizing on his success. On the other hand, like I said before, it doesn't often turn out very well for kids that are getting put through the ringer, and this record to me says that Mason's not really getting a lot of major say in kind of what he's putting out, or he doesn't care, and it just feels like product that is trying to capitalize on a viral trend. Somehow even like the Hank Williams songs, it's endearing even though he can't relate to those. It's endearing because they're so old and you can see that he's a fan, but when it's original content that is so unrelatable that sounds like something that like Kanan Smith or Dustin Lynch would be putting out, it's really, really weird. And so I don't think this record sounded very good. I don't think the enunciation's always very good. I don't want to be an asshole about this, but I'm going to give this record 4 out of 10. And that's all I'll say about it. All right, you guys, that is it from me. Let me know what you thought of records in July. What was your favorite? What you think of Cody Jinks and Kenny and Lori and Mason and Chris? There's a lot of good music that's been coming out this year, and I'm proud that I've mostly stayed on top of it for the last 4 or 5 months. So let me know your thoughts on these records. Give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys soon. Posting might be a little spotty over the next week. I'm going to be in Taiwan. But just be patient with me, okay?